Hi everyone. It is our great honor to be able to have a brief conversation with His Eminence Avikrita Rinpoche today as part of his Hong Kong trip. We haven't seen Rinpoche for more than 5 years, so it is our greatest pleasure to have him back today. Hello Rinpoche, how are you doing?
I'm doing good.
Great.
Thank you.
Thank you for being here with us today. A lot of us are very interested in who you are and what you do as a Tibetan High Lama in the Sakya lineage. Could you briefly just let us know what you do? What is your job?
Job. So this term, job, because I've been asked this before, and see, a job to me sounds like it's something you do that you have to do, like in a set of amount of hours that you have to do to provide service to the community, right? So whereas for me, what I do is it's like 24/7. I don't have a set of amount of hours that I have to, or like to provide a service to a small one community, because the community that I try to provide the service is across all over the world, many places. So you could say my job is actually my life, and my life is about sharing the Dharma.
So Rinpoche, as an American born in the 1990s, and with your background, very deeply rooted in the Tibetan Sakya tradition, why are you willing to take on the responsibility to promote the Buddha Dhamma and do your job?
My father is actually the first Tibetan born in America, and I was born in America too, in Seattle, but from a very young age I was sent to India in a very small Tibetan settlement that I grew up, and to live with my maternal grandparents and the family there, and then there was the Sangha there. So eventually, not at first, but eventually, because living and growing up with the Sangha and the families around there, they told me what the responsibilities and so on that I have. So from a very young age, even then, I knew that my destiny, you could say that, it was to train, in my family's family's lineage as a teacher, in Buddhism as a teacher. And I never had any doubts that in my mind that this was what I was supposed to do. So to carry out what they wished and they wanted me to do.
So Rinpoche, understand that given your family background, your family would want you to become a Buddhist teacher. And as a Buddhist teacher, what is your vision?
I guess my personal vision is something like an interpersonal vision. So, you see, our world is interdependent. So I'm very interested in more and more about connection. So as a community, that we grow together, that we start helping each other and learn from each other, and also like respond to each other's needs and expressing them, authentically. So that's something that I always had in mind. And this is not something new, actually, because this is something that the Buddha promoted years ago.
Rinpoche, do you have a personal wish or vision?
See, my passion for the Dharma has always been about, the foundation of developing wisdom and compassion. That through that, the potential, for positive changes in our lives is very incredible. And all we have to do is actually practice. Now, when I say practice, it's not always about what goes on in our inner world. See, according to the Dharma, our inner world and outer world are interdependent. So if we're awakening love, compassion, wisdom, and so on, it has to express itself. We have to dream out loud, as I always say. the future of our world is in our hands. We are the generation that has to act and act now to create positive changes, inside and out. So yeah, my wish, and I'm really hopeful that with the resources of Dharma that we have, that all this, our dreams will become reality.
Rinpoche, obviously there are various lineages within Tibetan Buddhism, and some people take the view that a student should exclusively follow one tradition only. Could you share your views on this?
So in Tibet, we have what are known as the 8 chariots. Or you can say like schools. So from which the mainstream traditions developed, such as Nyingma, Sakya, Kagyu, Gelug. And all those authentic traditions, they all synthesize with the teachings of the Buddha and the later works of the great scholars and the Nalanda masters. So all those authentic traditions, they all carry out the teachings of the Buddha, and that promote wisdom and compassion, just like what the Buddha did and all the other masters. So all our gurus, especially my grandfather, they always encouraged us that we should respect all traditions equally, even if someone is actually practicing a particular tradition in their practice, because it resonates with them, it relates to them, that they feel benefit from that practice. Same as all the other traditions and the practices, they all bring all of us closer and closer to our ultimate goal. So respecting other traditions as equally I think is very important.
Any general or specific guidance for your students and followers, Rinpoche?
I always try to promote and encourage people that, especially for Buddhists, that we need to try to be 21st century Buddhists. And what I mean by that is that not just going along just because the Buddha said so or because it says in the text, but that we actually investigate on the teachings and what the words of the Buddha meant, and that does it really bring benefit or calm to our mind streams. So the firm foundation that I would encourage, that we need to study, a firm foundation of studying, and then reflect and contemplate of what we have learned. And then once we know that this does bring benefit to my life and others, and then we put it into practice. So whether we are like learning from a great master, like receiving teachings from a great master, or studying the text, there's no real separation from theory and practice. Whether something's worth learning or not depends on whether that's then useful to contemplate and meditate on, and then knowing that it does lead to something that actually is worth our time and brings benefit and brings more calm and clarity to our minds and peace and happiness to our world. So without studying, we're blind. So studying, it should be the starting point, and very important to overcome this habit of misknowing. So that's something that I always encourage others, and through that, so it's very important that we learn the authentic Dharma from authentic teachers. That's a very important part, and if we are able to do that, then we can feel confident in the teachings and the practices that it will lead to all those results and effective.
Thank you, Rinpoche. That's very precious advice. So, Rinpoche, how do we incorporate Dharma into our daily lives?
The very first thing, and I think this is one of the most important things, is moral conduct. So it's the Buddhist way of navigating life as behaving to build trust and the foundation of trust and calm in the mind. See, the Buddha referred morality. I was talking about morality here. In Sanskrit, we call it shila, which literally means to cool down. And what he meant by that is that, behaving physically, verbally, mentally, in a way that actually cools down the heat of afflictive emotions and so on, that brings chaos and problems and so on. So the Buddhists relate to moral conduct as behaving in accord with natural law, so attuning our conduct to the way just as we do with our minds. So our commitment to moral conduct must be something that we choose to adopt from a place of skillful consideration, and a consideration of the way our karma determines our welfare and others' welfare. And so and on top of that, we can live, a life, a Dharma life. See, there is no life separate from Dharma life. We can integrate our mind training practices on bodhicitta. See, some people come and say that, oh, I have so much work, I'm very busy, I have so much homework and this and that, I don't have time to even practice bodhicitta. Now, personally, I don't think that's true, because any work, or even if you're studying, even if you're playing or walking or doing anything, any activity you're in, you can always transform and engage bodhicitta into our daily lives as activities. To go brief, you can, for example, waking up in the morning, you can meditate that you're waking up from this knowing. When you're showering, you can just meditate that you're showering all the defilements away. When you're eating nectars of improving your primordial wisdom. Walking, you're walking towards the Buddha. Sitting, you're sitting in front of the Buddha. Any action, I'm saying that we're doing it in order to attain bodhi for the sake of all sentient beings. So any action can be transformed into a practice in our daily lives.
So Rinpoche, we've discussed how to study Buddhism and how to incorporate it in our daily lives. But actually, a lot of people are interested in Buddhism because they want to understand life and death. What's your advice, or what's your take on this? How Buddhism looks at life and death?
Actually, we can relate this in like our mind training in everyday life. You see, we have this body, the body we can see, that we can touch, and when we get to the point of death, it all changes. Then there's awareness. Now, the awareness is not something you can see or touch, right? But there's a continuum. So in this life, as we all believe in the premise of rebirth, and then this means that from beginningless time until now, every single sentient being has been at least once been our loved one, has been at least once given us so much love, so much care, so much kindness, so much benefit that we can ever repay, more than the loved ones that in this life. So having that in our hearts, knowing it and recognizing it, because when changes happen, when it comes to death, rebirth, when the changes happen because of rebirth, we see some as enemies, we see some as strangers. Some people, we don't know, but they're all our loved ones. And that's something that I always encourage, that it's something that we need to come up again and again to reflect and remind ourselves and to keep it in heart. And this is the sort of like mind training that we can do in everyday life when it comes to birth and death.
Thank you, Rinpoche, for sharing with us on the Buddhist take of life and death, but practically, how do we, as Buddhists, support people at the time of death?
We have this fortunate life that due to the immense merit accumulation that we have done from our previous lives, in this life, see, we're born as a human, and not just on that, but on top of that, we're born in a human life that we're healthy, and then we have access to the Dharma in a world that we have access to the Dharma and able to practice the Dharma, to be able to meet authentic teachers, to be able to receive blessings and teachings, empowerments, and so on and so forth. So we are incredibly fortunate. And it's so important that we do not waste a single moment that we have, and to put as much as we can, to put our energy into to accumulate merit and virtues as much as we can, to make the most of this life. When we die, we can't bring all the material wealth, the wealth of the material wealth with us into the next life. But the wealth that we can bring is the wealth of good karma that we can accumulate in this life. So if we are able to live a life with accumulating merits and virtuous deeds, in a life full of love and kindness, and to develop wisdom as much as we can, then when the time comes, and it will, we won't be facing with fear. We won't be scared. We'll feel confident, and then the life that we have lived is full of love and compassion and virtuous deeds that we have accumulated, and then we can feel confident in the next life, whatever the future holds us and is in store for us.